Welcome to the Millionaire Race Podcast, where we empower you to better your financial standing. Why? So that collectively we can solve most of the socio-economic challenges that face the African American demographic today. My name is Toktia Gunyemi, and happy to have you on the show with us. Remember to subscribe to the show so that you can get alerts when new episodes are uploaded, and also give us a thumbs up, which improves our ratings on the different podcast sites and helps spread the show a lot further. I'm happy to announce that the podcast is now also uploaded on YouTube. So if you prefer to listen on YouTube, you can access all the episodes there. They are audio only, but that's because to this point, we haven't recorded any video. All our interviewees have remained anonymous and will probably keep it that way for now. But for shows where we won't have anyone we're interviewing, we'll consider having video in the future. But for now, they are audio only. If you'd like to reach us for comments or questions, you can always email me at toksy@themillrace.com. That's Toksy, Toksy, at themillrace, THEMILRACE.com. Drop us a line and we'll be happy to get back to you. African Americans make up 12% of the U.S. population, but only control 2% of the wealth. That means the African American demographic as a whole pretty much lives in poverty. Now that statement sounds pretty harsh because the reality is you listening to this show may not be living in poverty. But when you take the demographic as a whole and learn the fact that only 2% of the wealth of this nation is shared and flows around the community, then you begin to understand why there are so many socio-economic problems that face the African American people. On previous podcasts, we've shared statistics from the census.gov site that show a lot of the areas that we are struggling in as a people. And I encourage you to go back and listen to some of those episodes if you haven't already. Regardless of what got us here, our solution has been and continues to be that each individual African American household needs to attain a net worth of $1 million and more. If we can do that, not only will we be able to take care of our generations to come, but we'll be able to fix collectively a lot of the ills that face our demographic. We'll be able to collectively come together to help with education, to help with medical care, to help with the justice system. The list goes on and on. Currently, of the 19 million African American households in the United States, only 350,000 of them can boast of a net worth of $1 million or more. That's very low, especially since in our society today, it is far easier to attain $1 million than it was several decades ago. Now, even today, it's still not easy to attain $1 million, but it is very possible. It is very possible for anyone, African American or not, in the United States today, regardless of where or what level you're starting at now, it is very possible for you to attain a net worth of $1 million. If you follow the right steps, if you understand the financial system, and do what successful people are doing every day in this nation to build wealth. That is the reason for this podcast, and specifically for this episode, in which we continue our journey through the 531 method of financial success. Our 531 method is a tool that helps you establish yourself financially. It gives you a guide in what you need to do to successfully navigate the U.S. financial system. It's a guide on how to handle your finances in order to not only take care of your immediate needs today, but how to grow your wealth and invest for the future. The 531 method is made up of 5 foundational things that you need to be doing right away. Again, using the analogy of a house, the foundation, this is what holds everything together. This is what holds everything up. We have 5 foundational items of things you should be doing right away. And then we have 3 structural items. These are like the walls of the house, which after you've built the foundation, you can put up these walls. This is where you live. This is where we grow. This is where we get things done. And there are 3 of those. And then you have one item that's like the roof that covers and keeps everything together. Over the last few weeks, we've been going over the 5 foundational items, and today is week 3. Hopefully you've listened to the first 2 weeks, as today's topic builds on what we learned in the previous couple of weeks. With that being said, let's dive right in. The third foundational item in the 531 method of financial success is your income. Yes, the money that comes into your hands on a regular, consistent basis with which you can take care of your immediate needs and your wants. The money that comes in with which you can pay your bills, buy your groceries, save, invest. We talk about attaining a net worth of $1 million or more for each African American household. Well, you need an income to be able to get there. Your income is the driving force. It's the engine that will get you there. The engine that will take care of not only what you need right now, but everything you need for the future. You have to have an income. The more money you make, if utilized correctly, the faster you'll get to a net worth of $1 million or more. So let's dive into this a little deeper. Needless to say, you must have an income to run the millionaire race. If you're responsible for yourself or responsible for others, you must have an income. And the easiest way for that is to get a job. A job is simply where you take your time, give it to someone else, and they pay you for that time, whatever that job may be. A quick tip. The median household income for a Caucasian family in the United States is $89,050. Compare that to the median household of the African American family, which stands at $53,789, a whopping 40% less than that of Caucasian households. Yes, Caucasian households make almost double what African American households make, which just continues to increase the wealth gap. The reason for the income gap is obvious. Being that African Americans have historically controlled such little wealth, the foundational items to build a strong society have been missing. Education has been a struggle. Unfair incarceration that has destabilized the family unit has been a serious hindrance as well. That's why we're trying to ensure that this demographic, our demographic, learns to handle their finances properly. Hence this 531 method of financial success. So what's the fix? Well, today we're talking about income. And like we said before, you must have an income. I mean, that sounds pretty obvious, right? Yeah, you must have an income. The most common place to get that is to go to work. Unless you're disabled, physically or mentally, you should be working. Go and get a job if you don't have one. It doesn't have to be your dream job if you are someone who's not working right now. You just need to get a job. There are jobs all over the place. Even if it means flipping burgers, driving Uber, stocking shelves. I know of Caucasian families who have stable jobs during the day, but because they need extra funds to pay off debt, they stock shelves at Publix and Kroger and other grocery stores at night. No matter your education or skill level, there is someone in need of your time, and they will pay you for it. Go and get a job. Maybe two, if you can. So that's the first point on this podcast on income. You need to have one. Get a job. For my second point on income, I'd like to quote a scripture from Matthew chapter 20, verse 1 through verse 16. This parable that Jesus gave is used mainly to show God's grace, but there is a fundamental and unique business principle that's hidden in here. I'll paraphrase the story there for sake of time. You can always go ahead and read it yourself. Again, it's Matthew chapter 20, verses 1 through 16. And it's a story about a certain landowner who went out and hired laborers to work in his vineyard. And he went out in the morning, found some folks, and he agreed to pay them 1 denarius, which was the currency of their time, 1 denarius for the day. And they went in and started working. A little later that morning, he went out and he found some other folks and said, hey, I need some additional people. Come work for me and I'll give you what I feel is right. They agreed and they started working. He went out in the afternoon, found some other guys as well and said, hey, come work in my vineyard and I'll pay you what I think is right. And they agreed and went to work. Later that evening, he went out and still found people who didn't have work to do and told them to come work in his vineyard. And he'll pay them whatever he felt was right. And this was in the evening. And they also went to work for a few hours before the day was over. Well, at the end of the day, he called everyone. He called his CFO. It was steward is what's written in there, but the same thing. Someone that handles his finances, and asked him to pay everybody. And he paid everyone the same thing. 1 denarius. Yes, that's the same amount for the guys who started work early in the day as the ones who came and worked for just a few hours because they joined later in the evening. He paid them all the same thing. And the guys who had struck up a deal to work in the morning got upset, thinking that they should get more money than the folks who came in at the end of the day. It sounds fair, right? It sounds right that they should get more money. Well, surprisingly, the landowner said, hey, this is my land. This is my money. I can do whatever I want with it. I haven't done you any wrong. This is what you agreed to. So take what you agreed to and let me do what I want to do with my money. If I want to pay these guys the same amount, that's my prerogative. Wow, what a story. I didn't understand this for a long time because even I thought, wow, it's not fair. These guys work the whole day and these ones just came up in the evening and they get the same amount. Well, not quite. If you look closely, the folks who came and worked in the morning had an agreement. They were offered 1 denarius to work for the day and they agreed. They had a contract. That contract was between them and between the owner. The owner, if you bring it in today's terms, is like the owner of a company. And he had an agreement, a contract signed for this person to work for a certain amount. There has to be an offer, which the owner did, and there has to be an acceptance, which the person accepted. Once you've accepted an offer, you have a binding agreement, and that pertains to you only. What happens with somebody else is really of no concern to you. That's their contract. And if the owner of the company chooses to have a different agreement with them, he or she don't need your permission. I remember when I worked for a firm many years ago, I worked in the department for a few years and then was promoted to the manager of that department. Part of my responsibility as the manager was to handle raises, negotiate contracts with new employees that came into my department. And in so doing, I was privy to how much everyone was getting paid for what they did. And I was very surprised to see that there was a huge disparity in what people were getting paid despite doing the same type and same level of work. Some with even similar experience. How much people were getting paid differed across the spectrum. And I asked a similar question those people in the vineyard asked, saying, why is this? Why for the same type and level of work are we all being paid differently? And the answer the vice president gave me at the time, the vice president of the company, was simple and succinct. He said, that is what each person agreed to do the work for. We all get 24 hours in a day. Everyone, from the highest CEO to the lowest level worker you can think of. We all get 24 hours in a day. We go to work and hand over that time for a certain amount of money. That's the contract we agree to. How much we get, how much we agree to get, is totally up to us. You don't have to accept an offer that you don't think is fair. You can go elsewhere and try to find something better. All this to say that how much you make now is what you have accepted, but it doesn't have to stay that way. Going back to the story of the workers in the vineyard, imagine them coming the next day. Now they know what to expect. They can either agree to the 1 denarius if that's what's being offered, or they may say, hey, based on what happened yesterday, we want 2. And the owner has a choice to say yes or no. I'm only paying 1 denarius, right? So what you're getting paid right now is what has been offered to you and what you have accepted. And I'm here to tell you, you can be making more. How can you make more? Well, again, going back to the workers in the vineyard, they have a choice now, the following day, to take their services elsewhere. Now they may realize that, hey, maybe I'm worth 2 denarius instead of 1. So you also have the choice to find somebody else that may pay you more for what you know right now, because we are all paid for what we know and the amount of experience we have with that knowledge. That's what you're paid for. You're paid for what you know, the problems that you can solve with what you know. So if you want to get paid more, you have to know more. That's why education is so important. And we'll talk more about education in future episodes. But the more you know, the more potentially you get paid for that knowledge. So in order to make more money, one, you can stay where you are right now and just increase your knowledge. Depending on what kind of company you work in, it's possible that you can learn some more things specifically geared towards what you do right now, or get some additional knowledge to help what you're doing right now, which would make you more valuable to your company. Now, when you do that, they may appreciate that and give you a raise where you are. Or if they don't, you may be able to go somewhere else where they'll appreciate you even more and pay you more money for that increase in knowledge that you have. A good friend of mine had worked for a company for many years. One day, he decided to explore working for another company. Based on his knowledge and all his years of experience, another company was so happy to snap him up. They offered him a lot more money than what he was making. So he went back to his current employers and said, "Hey, I'm leaving because I found this company that values me more than you." He didn't say it that way, but that's basically what it is. When another company is offering you more money for your knowledge and your expertise and experience, it means they value you more. And his company went scrambling. Of course, they were happy to pay him what they were paying him up until this time because he accepted it. But when he came up to them and pretty much was saying, "Hey, I don't accept that anymore. Somebody values me more and I'm going there," they scrambled and they matched and in fact bettered the offer. So he stayed with the company and got a significant increase because he made them realize his worth. Now, that doesn't always happen. Sometimes they'll say they can't match it because they're so used to you receiving what they've been paying all along. But that's fine. Then you can move on to the other company. But don't think you are stuck. You are not stuck at a company that you're working there by choice. No matter your level of education, you can increase what you know. I'll say this again. I've said it several times already today. You are paid for what you know. If you just learn a little bit more, either by taking a course, reading books, having someone teach you something, any little thing that you add to what you know will increase your earning power, will increase your income. Your income should increase every year for two reasons. One, inflation. Year over year, the amount that you can use your money to buy decreases a little bit because of inflation. So you have to make more to not only keep up with inflation, but to beat inflation. So you want to make sure that your increase in income is more than inflation. That's the first reason. The second reason is we encourage on this show for you to keep learning. Must always be learning. You want to know more today than you did this same time last year. So next year, you want to know more than you know today. And if you're doing that, whether it's by reading, taking courses, if you're doing that, your income will naturally increase because, again, you get paid for what you know. So your income should increase every year. There are people earning $100,000, $200,000, $300,000, $400,000 a year. Why not you? They are not more special than you are. Yes, they may have, based on circumstances, have more opportunities than you have had, but that doesn't stop you from being able to get to those numbers. You just have to take it one step at a time. You are more resilient because of all the obstacles that you've had to overcome, but you have to be intentional about getting this done. And so for a quick recap, today we're talking about income. You must have an income. And if you have an income, that's great. We have to work towards increasing that income. We need to close the gap between the median household income of the African American family and other demographics. So if you have an income, let's work towards increasing that income, increasing the amount of knowledge we have in our current job or in other expertise by looking around for other people who may pay more for what we know right now. But don't be satisfied with just accepting what is offered to you. Work towards increasing that significantly every year. Now, we also live in a different economy and time where there are so many side jobs, as they call them, the Ubers, there's so many contracting jobs, so many remote jobs, and there are lots of people who are doing those on the side as well to supplement the money they're making. That's fine. That's great. That's one of the benefits of the society we live in today. So avail yourself of that. Your income is a crucial part to running and winning the millionaire race. If you focus on it, and as you apply the principles to the income that you bring in, you'll be amazed at the transformation in your financial life. Next week, we'll talk about the fourth foundational item in the 531 method of financial success. Till then, my name is Toxi Ogunyemi. God bless you, and I'll see you next time.